Hello everyone, and welcome to the Bold and the Beautiful official channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. When Steffy praised the naked Finn in the doctor's break room for rescuing Eric, Finn pointed out that Eric still had a long way to go before he fully recovered. Steffy wanted to show Finn how much his effort meant to her by taking him home. She kissed him and said, "I've never wanted to make love to someone more than I do now." The conversation shifted to Ridge's choice to take Eric off of life support. She remembered when Eric had gone flat and was placed on a ventilator, she had doubted herself and urged Ridge to think again. She praised God for keeping Eric and for giving him another opportunity, which Finn had done. Finn stated that it was only an opportunity, but Steffy was sure Eric would strive to have the finest possible life. Finn reassured Steffy that these were difficult experiences many families faced and begged her not to feel bad. Steffy explained that Thomas typically absorbed things, which was why she was concerned about him. It pleased Steffy that Thomas had someone to confide in. Finn said he thought Steffy wasn't content with Thomas and Hope. While acknowledging that she wasn't, Steffy added that it was well known that her brother was in love with Hope and that she didn't think Hope would feel the same way. After what Thomas had done, Finn was unable to hold Hope responsible. In response, Steffy said that Thomas had come a long way since then. While Finn didn't refute it, he did state that if Thomas had his way, Beth wouldn't be with Hope. In response, Steffy said that Thomas had been in a bad place for a long time. Steffy expressed concern that Thomas might become agitated due to Hope's casual approach towards his sentiments. But, Steffy remarked, "I can't be angry with Hope for providing a lifeline during the Eric situation." When Finn was called back to the floor, Steffy made the decision to go to work. Thomas and Hope had just returned from a visit with Eric and were in the design office. Though Thomas stated that he couldn't fathom living without his grandfather, he made a decision to stay optimistic. Without Hope, Thomas was unsure of how he would have succeeded. In response, she said that they had supported one another and that she was confident Eric would be able to overcome his recuperation. Thomas was thankful the family had convinced Ridge, since he couldn't fathom the gravity of the choice he had to make over Eric's life support. Thomas hoped Eric recovered completely. Hope reasoned that since Eric was battling, he would come back stronger than before. Hope assumed that Steffy was pleased with Finn. Hope, who had always held Finn in high regard, advised them to be appreciative of his presence in their lives. Thomas expressed his gratitude for the woman he was holding. He was appreciative of her devotion and assistance. Hope smiled. When Steffy got to the door, she listened to Thomas express his gratitude to Hope for getting him and his family through their worst times. He declared his love for Hope, saying he could see how much she cherished him. Steffy pursed her lips and shook her head. Hope informed Thomas that he thought she understood how he felt about her, and that their intimacy and the time they'd spent together told him all he needed to know. He declared that Hope was the sole reason he was there. When Steffy announced her arrival, Thomas inquired about Eric. Eric, according to Steffy, wasn't reverting. Hope felt there was a but when she thanked Hope for her support. Steffy continued, expressing concern for her brother. "There was no need to be," Thomas said. "If this was a romance, or if they were just hanging out," Steffy inquired. "You genuinely believe it's a wise decision?" Steffy inquired. Thomas insisted that everything was under control, but after hearing what she'd heard, Steffy said she wasn't so sure. For a long time, Steffy said, he had been in love with Hope, and the sentiments had led him to some bad places. Hope was warned by Steffy not to manipulate or lead Thomas in any way. Steffy insisted that Hope tell Thomas the truth about her feelings for him, and that he deserved to know it. Brooke felt disappointed Ridge hadn't had much time to spend with the sleeping Eric at his office. Ridge mentioned that the entire family was coming, and that Felicia, Kristen, and Thorne were present. Although Brooke was happy to see Eric back, she said they should have known better than to count Eric out, even for a little moment. Ridge described it as a true miracle for Christmas. Concerning himself with Eric's desire to stay on the other side after he had collapsed, Ridge started to worry. Ridge was told to cease doing that and to be optimistic by Brooke. Getting Eric back to himself was feasible since, as she stated, he was still alive. She knew that Eric would be appreciative of Ridge's decision to provide the therapy, but Ridge thought that while that would be true if things could go back to normal, Eric would still despise Ridge. Brooke expressed disbelief, stating that Eric was the most kind person and they would have Finn to thank whenever Eric recovered fully. Brooke expressed her admiration for Finn's actions and his unwavering support for Steffy and her family. Ridge's decisions from the hospital came back to him. He considered saying how much he appreciated Eric's requests not being granted, and then apologizing for not doing so. After being removed off the ventilator, Brooke claimed that Eric had woken up after hearing Stephanie's Bible passages. Eric was back with them, according to Brooke. Ridge remembered how Eric had looked at them all, and he wondered whether Eric wanted to be back with them. Ridge saw that Eric had not been grinning and appeared to have been dragged away from his desired position. Although Brooke stated that she knew Eric's want to be there because he had begun breathing on Christmas Day, Ridge wasn't convinced Eric wanted to be there. She was certain that Eric desired to be present with them and his beloved son. It was evident, Brooke said, how much Ridge and Eric loved one another, and they had made memories together. Playing on the floor, she claimed that Ridge had grown up there and that Eric had shaped him into the man he is now. In response, Ridge said he would do anything for Eric, aside from letting him leave. In response, Brooke said she had known Eric would arrive. Ridge remarked that Brooke's optimism was the reason Eric loved her, and that Eric had always thought that Brooke and Ridge were in love. Even though Brooke was in agony herself, Ridge praised her for being his rock. She promised to always be there for Ridge, and he promised to do the same. He loved his Logan and was delighted to be traveling with her, even if he didn't believe he expressed it enough. Ridge flashed back over the decisions he'd made at the hospital. He thought of apologizing to Eric for not fulfilling Eric's wishes, but expressing how good it was that he hadn't. Brooke said it had been scary when they'd taken Eric off the ventilator, but Eric had heard Stephanie's Bible verses and awakened. Brooke said Eric was back with them. Ridge questioned whether Eric wanted to be back with them, and he recalled the way Eric had looked at them all. Ridge noted that Eric hadn't been smiling and had seemed as if he'd been pulled back from where he wanted to be. Ridge wasn't sure Eric wanted to be there, but Brooke insisted that she did know because Eric had started breathing on Christmas Day. She had no doubt Eric wanted to be there with them and his adored son. Brooke asserted that it was apparent how much Ridge and Eric loved each other, and she added that they had built memories together. She said Ridge had grown up there, playing on the floor, and Eric had made Ridge into the man Ridge was. Ridge replied that he'd do anything for Eric, except let him go. Brooke replied that she'd known Eric would make it. Ridge said that Eric loved Brooke because of her positivity, and Eric had always believed in Brooke and Ridge's love. Ridge thanked Brooke for being his rock, even through her own pain. She vowed to always be what Ridge needed her to be, and he said he'd be the same. He didn't think he said it enough. However, he was glad to be on the journey with her, and he loved his Logan. Thanks for watching. If you like this video, so please don't forget to subscribe my channel and don't miss any update.